Hi everyone, welcome to Living La Vita Loca podcast, a retro gaming podcast for some of your retro gaming needs. My name is Faz.
And I'm Rich.
I am very boisterous tonight.
Are you? Is that because of all the crocodile sweeties?
No, not because of the 600 grams of sweets that I brought before my diet that I'm going to try and enforce upon myself for the next 16 weeks. The 16-week diet that everyone knows about.
No, it's 16 weeks till...
Yeah, 16 weeks till Christmas.
Crikey.
I know, and I'm like, no holidays till then. So just head down, no food. It's just meals is what I'm going to try and go for. So I thought I better bring some sweets tonight like we normally do.
Kill yourself with sweets tonight.
Yeah. Used to be beer, now it's sweets.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, it's not just to do with that. I've whipped myself up into a bit of a frenzy about the fact that it's the 20th anniversary of the PSP launch in Europe today, now. Like, as in, 20 years ago, at this very moment, I know what I was doing.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, and it's so weird to know that because I just don't think there's that many times when that happens, like, in your life.
That's fair.
Without really trying to think about it, if that makes sense. I mean, I know you could go back on photos and memories and stuff, but I genuinely just know what I was doing at this time, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And the fact that, so if I cast back to 2005, so I was 17 years old. I'd just passed my driving test in May or June, I think it was. Liverpool just won the Champions League in 2005, the Istanbul sort of thing, and they hadn't won anything for a while big, so that was like, a big thing. And I was able to get into nightclubs without having been ID'd, so I was like, I had a really like active social life, going out and drinking and things and stuff, and I had a job like at McDonald's, and I was earning pretty good money for that. McDonald's paid quite well, like as a tip out there for any youngsters, like, or any oldsters. I think I was getting like £5 an hour or something, which was like, I was 17 years old. It's and I had like
at the time.
Yeah, I think I had like a 16-hour contract or maybe 12 or something. But it was like I was probably the richest I'd ever been. Like, as in like, because I was still studying. My AS level physics result wasn't great. The U that I got, it got turned around to a C, but I was like, oh god, I'm shit at physics, it seems. But so apart from that, that was a little bump in the road in the summer. So probably 2 weeks prior to this 20 years ago, I'd had that little bump. But yeah, and then the 1st of September, PSP, the very first, and I've thought about this today, the only time I've ever bought a console on launch day because I could afford to. Like, as in, I had some disposable money to be able to go, I'm going to go and buy a PSP value pack for, I think it was £89.99, I think, at the time. And you got the PSP, and you get the little sort of headset adapter with this little special sort of player bit with the, like almost like a futuristic button situation. Yeah. And it's a specific earphone adapter that goes into the PSP that doesn't go anywhere else. Like, it's only useful for that one thing. And even it has a little strap that you'd put on the corner of the PSP where if you've had a PSP before, you've got like a little sort of grey plastic corner loophole.
Oh, yeah, like the wrist strap thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It had a wrist strap. It's just like who's throwing the PSP around. Like, and a 32 megabyte memory card. I remember all the way back on our first podcast, I think that I said that, and you went 32 megabyte. So what do you do with that? Like, and that was like, just to pretty much save games, and that was it. You couldn't actually put anything on there. Just got that pack, and then I bought Archer McLean's Mercury, and I bought Ridge Racer that day, and they were the two things that I was doing for the rest of that day, was playing Ridge Racer and Archer McLean's Mercury. Pretty much. I probably got to the point, actually, at this time 20 years ago, I was probably halfway through Archer McLean's Mercury thinking, what am I doing? Like, this is the most amazing experience right now that I'm playing.
We've peaked.
Yeah, playing this 3D colourful, vibrant, amazing puzzle game that I wouldn't have thought about previously, and all of a sudden I just felt like, this is going to sound stupid, but I just felt like nothing could touch me at that point. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, the perfect moment of my life where I was just like, I've got enough money to do whatever I want. Like, I'm independent now. I've got a car. Oh, I'm driving my parents' old car, banged a Volvo Rover, but I'm driving a car. I'm I'm starting to become an adult, but I'm also protected by the fact that I don't have to pay any rent and things, and then to just be able to say I've bought this console outright on the very first day. I've queued in front of Virgin Megastore at 9 a.m. and picked that up, and just felt so wonderful. And all those feelings coming back today when I've been thinking about it over and over, thinking about the podcast and wanting to convey them. I genuinely have been like, about an hour ago, I was sat, it's like butterflies in my stomach, thinking I can't wait to go podcast. The game, the big games coming up. The big games.
Go time.
So, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah. Good. I'll take that as a win. That's a good one. That's a good one. Remind me when you played a PSP or picked a PSP up first. As in,
Can't remember.
no.
Can't remember. I was trying to work this out because I knew damn well that you'd come here like a flipping golden retriever puppy or something, and be like, "Oh, the thing with the stuff."
It's scattering across your floor like
Yeah, scooting around on your ass.
crashed into a cabinet.
Yeah, and I was like,
I brought the sweets.
So when did I get mine? And I was desperately trying to remember, and I can't. And I think the thing to bear in mind with it is at the time I did not have a job and I did not have a car, and
I feel bad now.
my family were not flush with cash. However, my birthday is not a million miles off.
Okay.
So there is a decent probability that I might have got it for a birthday. But there is an also pretty decent probability that I probably just offloaded a load of Game Boy Advance stuff.
Yeah, okay.
To cover paying for it. I definitely had it by the time I was going to university in 2006.
Yeah.
Okay. So at some point between now and a year's time, give or take, I picked one up.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly when. May have been Christmas, possibly.
So it's still early adoption, really.
But so I was trying to work it out, because in my head it was always like, I would usually be a couple of years behind the curve. And I realised that actually, mathematically, no, that probably wasn't the case, at least with this. And if anything, over time, I've got more and more behind the curve. And,
I'm actively searching to be behind the curve.
Like, what was it? The PS5 is like 5 years old. And I'm like, no, it's not.
No. Yeah, I mean, I went to CEX today just because it's been inset day for my son. And it's funny because it just like kind of blast past the Xbox game, the Xbox Series X and PS5 games. Just like, I'll get them soon. Don't worry about them.
We'll get round to it.
Yeah, look at the PS4 games and go, ooh, these are still these 10-year-old games are still pretty steep. And sliding down to the PS3 games and going, oh, actually, this one for £4. Now
we're talking.
Yeah, Sega Rally on the PS3 £4.
There you go.
Why would you go anywhere else? Why would you do that? But yeah, I think that the reason I asked that, even though I guess not being a day one adoptee, but early on, this is I feel like you'll be able to answer this question better than me, but have a little think about it, is that how innovative do you feel that the PSP was at the time of trying to cast your mind back 20 years ago? So you sort of think just before the PS3 comes out, Xbox 360, was that 2006? I think that was like maybe just like 6 months away or something like that. Yeah. So you're kind of talking bang on the end of PS2, GameCube.
Yeah.
That is in Xbox and stuff. That is in DS has just come out. And then in walks this sort of PS2-ish, PS1 1.75, and then towards the end of its lifetime, PS2 2.5, almost graphics, if you will. This comes in sort of 2005, and speaking about that time, it feels like a long time to me. What do you feel like it's? It feels truly memorable to me, but then at the same time, I know we've talked about this kind of on the podcast before, but then it's probably obviously waned quite a lot. But do you still think that those memories I've just spoke about are worth keeping, like in the way that I have?
Am I going to make a mockery of the story that you've just told me?
Which is fine if you do, but do you know what I mean? Like,
I'm not going to.
Is it okay for me to be excited about it 20 years later?
Of course it is, because it means a lot. And like, there are plenty of people out there that would happily reminisce fondly about the first console I bought with their own money and stuff like that.
I think that a lot of it is that, but
Yeah, but I think for my case, it probably would have been an Xbox 360 when I was at uni and stuff like that. So I'm kind of a little way off of those warm fuzzies for myself, and that's not to say like that I treat my Christmas presents with a cold disdain or anything like that. Hi, Mum. Hi, Dad. If you're still listening, but like it's
where were the warm fuzzies, Mum? Where were the warm fuzzies?
I just wanted a hug, not a PSP. But for me, like handheld games were kind of they always played second fiddle to the home consoles.
Yeah.
For me, like that was what I always gravitated towards, and I generally gravitated towards them because originally, way back, kind of started out with PC, but we never had a PC that could keep pace with what I wanted to play. Whereas at least a console, you could plug it in, you could stick a CD in or a cartridge, turn it on, and away you go.
Yeah.
And I still like that.
Yeah, me too.
That's how come I'm annoyed with something that I picked up the other day that I had to like download 100 odd gigs worth of updates for. I was like, well, can I not just do something with it?
Yeah.
No, I've put it in the machine. No, okay, fair enough.
Wow.
And all that kind of stuff. So like having the PSP come along and do what it did when you've been used to the Game Boy Advance as your sort of quote unquote backup console was kind of cool. I was lucky enough to have a Game Boy Advance that had the cable, or I had the cable for the Game Boy Advance rather, that could connect it with the GameCube. So I was just starting to dabble with that kind of connectivity thing. But I didn't have a PS2 or anything like that. So it felt like that kind of side of things was never really going to be much of a goer for me. But the kind of games that it was getting, the kind of graphical grunt that it had, was definitely impressive. So I think like it's perfectly valid to be excited about it. But to be frank, in the cold light of day and with a bit of hindsight, I just don't think I was.
Yeah.
And I still don't think I am. Like I kind of regard it with that kind of like objectively, I know it was pretty impressive. And I could be like, you know what, kudos, well done. Like that's a technical feat getting that running. But like, does it grab me in the feels? Yeah. Not really. No. Not as much, at least. I've got fond memories of it, sure. But are they as ingrained and as vivid? No, not really. But then also for like some of the stuff that I was doing at sort of in my ASs and A levels at the time, they were all things that were, very nerdy book based and like film and TV based and all that kind of stuff. So I was definitely watching a lot of films, watching a lot of telly. I'm wondering, the more I think about it, if it was just a period where I just didn't play as much video games. And, I'm going to university soon. I'll probably have to knock it on the head completely. And then, lo and behold, within 18 months, I'm buying an Xbox 360 or whatever. I haven't like sold off all my other stuff. But I think I was...
No front door, but I've got a 360. It's fine.
But
I'll defend it with my life.
I think I was on the cusp of one of those sort of fallow periods in my kind of gaming history.
Yeah.
So, it sits in a bit of an odd place for me personally.
I've got two things to say. Just... It's funny because you mentioned university quite a few times, and obviously that was the kind of age that we were at, and I feel like that's a good age almost, like I said, unless you're very invested in your studies and doing well, good time to be kind of picking up a new console and almost showing off your wares. So I posted a question on the PSP Reddit the other day, just sort of said, has anybody got any sort of launch day stories or anything that they can, like kind of what I was trying to share there, really. And just got one respondent, which isn't a terrible thing at all, because it was an absolute essay, and I believe the chat was called Umbasa24, I think it was. Forgive me if you're listening or anything, but gave me just a vast story, and it wasn't a European launch date story, but it was about how him and his friends were on a game development course at university,
right?
And they all imported PSPs from Japan when they launched. Wow. And they said it went on to say about the impact that had on people to see 4 or 5 people network gaming PSPs in December 2004.
Yeah, that's a point.
On a game development course across 2 classrooms. He was like, it was just stunning to see people react to that, to think that was the kind of impact it could have. I think you're right. I don't think it did, but certainly in certain circles.
But I mean, even just having the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Now you mention it, like actually, that was because I never really dabbled with that too much myself because I was the only person I knew that had a PSP. Like, what am I going to do with
Well,
that?
this is the thing, yeah. So when I then asked my circle of friends about this to say, I can't remember, I knew what the answer was. But I was like, did anybody have a launch PSP? Because I knew nobody did, but I'm just trying to remember. Did I miss that or something?
Yeah.
And everyone sort of said, oh no, we kind of came to it a little bit later. That the few people that did have it.
Yeah.
And I do think that was one of those things that that was difficult for me, and that's probably why I ended up not having a PSP maybe 3 years later, because actually I don't think people picked it up as quickly as I thought they were going to, and I'd gone through a lot of things, games and different stuff, and then I think I then levered it against another console, and it's almost like, and that felt like the time to do that. But the second thing I wanted to point out was that I think you put it in a really good way to sort of say, whilst it maybe wasn't something that was the thing that change your gaming life or anything for you at the time, like the legacy it's left for me is that I really enjoy handheld gaming now. That is and I think that's all stemmed from being an early adopter of that handheld gaming. That is in. Sorry, that makes it sound like Game Boys didn't exist before the most influential sort of like. But like what I mean is the modern sort of way of gaming in a handheld fashion. That is in to see these high performing games on, say, a Steam Deck or my Logitech G Cloud and those kind of things, where I now almost have a bit of a preference to be able to have something in my lap, a Switch, like to be able to play things in my lap, like and when we've talked about playing shmups before, and it's like, well, it should make sense to play it on a big screen or something, and actually I'm like, no, I'll have it on a tiny screen down here because just that it's my comfy place to be, and I wonder if that's sort of like kind of bred through almost years and years of doing that, and enjoying that since I was, I mean, obviously Game Boys were there beforehand, but certainly the PSP had a big impact.
No, I get that, because if you've gone to the effort of buying this console with your own money for the first time, getting in there 9:00 launch day, and
dragging my girlfriend at the time, I was like, we're going, come on.
Like, what's more, like it not being a disappointment and you actually enjoying it. I certainly, in fact, Switch 2 is a convenient example, right? That's reasonably recent, and I know I made this decision. I wasn't the only person, but we were like, I'm going to wait. Yeah. I'm not convinced by this launch lineup. I'm going to wait and then see what like the first sort of couple of waves of games look like. And if it looks like it's decent, then yeah, sure, maybe I'll wait in. But at the moment, I'm not feeling a kind of major rush to get in. So to make those decisions and be there launch day and go and commit to this console and come away happy with it, I think is great.
Brilliant segue, because I've already written the blurb for this episode, and I've already said that good hardware needs to be supported by good software on launch. Looking at you, Switch 2.
Hey.
See, we know each other's brains. It's great. So, and that was kind of where I wanted to guide today's kind of conversation down to, was the European launch title lineup, and try and do a bit of an exercise and sort of talk about the. You'd be surprised how hard it is for the internet to be right 20 years ago. Like, as in, so if you type in PSP launch title games, obviously you have Japanese, then you have rest of the world / with the European, and then you also have the American. All the different sort of launch titles are a little bit different. If you try to narrow it down to Australia, Africa, Europe, and that title. So, and I keep on saying it's European today. It was also the rest of the world apart from America and Japan. So, congratulations to you guys too. And trying to get what the actual lineup was, it kind of seems to settle at 24 games.
Right.
So I think, so I don't want to be sort of taking the history books to this, be like, oh, well, that was out a day later, or that was out a week later, or whatever, or that wasn't out at all. Like, as in, this is what I have researched.
So this is the launch period.
Exactly,
titles.
Right. But I do think that these all came out, I think these were all available day one.
Okay,
that is in, right. And that's as far as I'm aware. That isn't. And if you have a look and tally that up with the American release 6 months prior, like I'd say that 75% of them match up, if that makes sense, with a few different regional things. For example, we got over here and the rest of the world, we got Ape Escape Academy, and whereas America and Japan had Ape Escape on the Loose, which is definitely a PSP Ape Escape game. Or a shit Ape Escape sort of weird quiz, like mini game thing that I reviewed at about 5 out of 10. Like, so just on the right side of it. Was it a 5 out of 10?
I think just it's a 4 by the way.
Oh, right, okay, 4. Yeah, cool, 4 out of 10. So on the wrong side of recommendation. I think that's definitely what I remember it being. So my question to you is, and I think we can do what we do all the time, is do a little draft and pick out of the 24 games. We make a bit of a construct around that, and we pick certain types of games. So if I tell you that out of the 24 games, 30% of the games were sports games, 30% of them were racing games, and the rest of them are random different games.
Misc other.
Yeah, misc other. So I think that we do this. I think that we make it hard on ourselves.
Yep.
And we draft 8 games each. We do 2 racing games, 2 sports games, and 4 wildcard games. So almost, they say misc other. And in my head, we've just walked into the shop. We've just walked into Virgin Megastore that day.
Yep.
And every single one of these titles is on the wall, but there's only one copy of each. And we have to then use that construct.
Fight to the death.
To pick those games. And sort of, we can say a little bit why. I mean, we obviously we've not played all these games. You know, like that, and that's fine. Like, you know, so we don't have all the ins and out of it. Some of these games might be some people's favourite games ever. It'd be amazing if they were. That'd be like, oh, impressive. But yeah, that was kind of like what I sort of foresaw happening. So let's see how that goes.
Yep.
But just to give you, I guess for the listeners, just to listen to what the games are that we've got listed. Have you got the list there, like more clearly on my notes?
I've got them. Yeah. Do you want me to?
Do you
rattle through?
Yeah, do you want to blast through them and just sort of say if you say what they are, and then the Metacritic score straight after it or whatever it is, because and then you can get a sense of what everyone thinks of the games as well.
So I'll.
Sorry, I've just enlisted you to this.
No, it's all right. I'm just sitting here going like, am I going to try and do it like it's the sort of the pools on a Saturday afternoon? Ape Escape Academy 5. Archer McLean's Mercury 8. Everybody's Golf, Hot Shots Golf 8.
Yeah, do that. Carry on. This is great.
Lumines or Lumines? We never decided.
I know. Lumines.
Lumines.
Lumines. I know, yeah, but it's not. Yeah, but that's what it's meant to be, apparently.
That game that begins with L, 9. Medieval Resurrection, 6. Metal Gear Acid, 7. Ridge Racer, 9. Tony Hawk's Underground 2 Remix, 8. Wipeout Pure, 9. There's a lot of these games, aren't there? NBA Street 2 Showdown, 8. Need for Speed Underground, Rivals, as in the punctuation mark. It's not like colon rivals. 8. NFL Street 2 Unleashed, 7. Spider-Man 2, 6. That's confusing numbers, isn't it? Tucker, Race Driver, all caps, 8. Untold Legends, Brotherhood of the Blade, sorry. 7. Brother of the Blood, 7. Virtua Tennis World Tour, 8. Colin McRae Rally, 7. Darkstalkers Chronicle, The Chaos Tower, 7. Dynasty Warriors, 6. F1 Grand Prix, 6. Fired Up, 7. Never heard of that.
Okay.
Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition, 7. World Snooker Challenge, 7. World Tour Soccer Challenge Edition, 7. A lot of 7s in there, isn't there?
A lot of 7s, a lot of Challenge Tour things.
Yeah.
Challenge Snooker, Challenge
a lot of colons.
Soccer. Yeah. Pretty. Yeah, thank you for that, dude. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. That was great.
Oh, yeah, you threw down a gauntlet, didn't you? These things will happen.
Yeah, but anybody that doesn't has never watched the football results being read out with the pool results at the same time on a Saturday afternoon hasn't lived, basically. But you've just got one.
Showing our age.
Yeah, you've just got one right there, so that was worth it. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm hoping that out of that you managed to pick out what games there are on the launch list, and also what their scores were. Just to give you an idea of what we've already reviewed on the podcast out of those games and the scores that we gave them on the podcast. So, Ape Escape Academy 4, I believe.
Yep.
Archer McLean's Mercury got a 7.
Yes.
This is me. I'm literally remembering this from my head. Like, isn't I remember?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to just keep guessing?
Yeah.
I'll tell you if you're right or not.
Everybody's Golf 7.
Yep.
Lumines or Lumines,
whatever we're calling it this week.
Oh. Did I give that an 8?
That's a 7.
Okay, I think I gave the sequel an 8, maybe. I think I stepped into and that was what it is. And I think I said that the remastered version of the Switch was like the 1. And I'm really looking forward to the newest version as well. Medieval Resurrection Oh, a 6?
5.
Fuck. Right, okay, so 5. Yeah, that seems about right from me. I wasn't super, it was a recommendation, but Metal Gear Acid, I remember giving that a 4 because we spoke about them recently. Ridge Racer, so I gave it a 7 and you gave it an 8.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that now. And then you wanted to give it the 8 out of 10 game of the year. We'll come back to that. So Tony Hawk's Underground 2, a 6.
Yeah, that's 6.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good game, brilliant, really good Tony Hawk's game. Just a really stupid, wanky, like, as in the bad end of Jackass, like, as in, part of it. I think even Phil Majera is, like, listed as being, like, in the cast of it. And Wipeout Pure, which it's got to be a 9, right?
Yeah, that's a 9.
Yeah, cool. Oh, okay. Well, not too bad. So yeah, they were the games that we've already reviewed on our podcast. So there's obviously quite a few games that we've not played. Out of the remaining games, is there any games that you have played previously?
Ooh.
Not for me personally.
Good question.
So that still leaves, how many is that?
Darkstalkers Chronicle.
Okay.
I've played. I've played different versions of some of these on different things.
Yeah.
So, like, Tucker Race Driver, I'm reasonably sure I played that. A version of that.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? There's a lot of these that are a version of.
Yeah, Midnight Club 3, ditto. Dynasty Warriors, I'm reasonably sure, but I guess it depends on what flavour of Dynasty Warriors it was at that point. Spider-Man 2, again. So yeah, like, kind of adjacent versions of it. So I think I would be able to hazard a guess at the gist of some of them.
Yeah. Oh, it's like NFL Street 2. I've reviewed NFL Street 3 on the podcast, and Virtual Tennis World Tour. I did the Vita version on the podcast. So it's like, we've kind of touched on, Formula 1 Grand Prix. We've touched on stuff before between us, I think. So hopefully we'll be able to pick something out using our knowledge around those kind of things. So, right, shall we Rochambeau to see who goes first? Well, should we pick racing games?
I was going to say, we're just doing specific categories first.
I think so. Right. Let's do the racing, then the sports. Okay, so Rochambeau.
Yep.
1, 2, 3. That went so wrong, but
did it?
I did scissor and paint. Is that okay?
No, that's fine.
Cool, yeah. Good. I was like, we were so out of sync there. Again, for GX Vault on Instagram, who says that it'd be great if you guys did a video version of the podcast. You would just see two middle-aged men eating 600 grams of sweets, being shit at
failing to count to 3.
If that's what you want to see, guys. Jeez, right, okay. It's cool. That has given me the conundrum that I wanted to have. Do I be a dick straight out the gate? I feel like I'm going to have to be. You're going to be angry about this. I'm going to take Ridge Racer.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Sorry. Oh, but then you might
not sorry as I am.
No, but then you might take Wipeout, but then you probably will. I don't know. But So the reason... So I gave it 7 out of 10. I owe you and Ridge Racer an apology.
You damn right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm saying sorry. Okay. So the reason I gave it 7 out of 10 at this time was because I felt like it was quite repetitive. I think 2 years on of doing this podcast, I'm back to episode 7 here. I think 7 or something. I'm a better gamer than I was 2 years ago. I know more about gaming. I've played more games. I've played more games in these last 3 years than I did probably in the rest of my life, really. So I have more understanding of what a video game is all about. And thinking back to Ridge Racer and the way it designs itself, and specifically as well, having that was, I picked that up day one. I picked Ridge Racer on day one. And Ridge Racer 5 was almost like a day one-ish. One of my first games I had on my PS2. There's something about it that the reason I picked that out. Now, is it as good as Wipeout was for me eventually? For me personally, no. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it looks like the actual future. It looks like, in 2005 it looked like the future, and in 2023 when I played it again, it looked like the fucking future. It's just like, it just looks so good. And I put the trailer of the game on our Instagram the other day, and the initial launch video on that game. Oh my god, it's just amazing. It's just like this. It just makes you feel so many different ways. And having the little, and you remember what the game's called, but I can never remember what the game's called in the loading screen that you have, the little retro game.
The the ones that play while it's loading.
Yes, yeah. But don't worry.
Yeah,
but like,
can't remember.
Yeah, it's just like having those little touches as well. That is in. So yes, I do think it's a little bit repetitive, and I'm not going to go back down on that. But at the same time, it's probably that's the way the game is designed to be. That is in to be, and then to get better at it. So. Yeah, I did take that from you because I still think Wipeout is a better game, a racing game. But I the reason I wanted to take it is because I wanted to say sorry to you, basically, and also to Ridge Racer. And it probably does deserve to be an 8 out of 10 game, and it probably did deserve to be probably the 8 out of 10 game of the year for our first year of the podcast. But hey ho, here we are now.
It's fine. I mean, you realise you could have said all that had I picked Ridge Racer anyway.
Of course I could,
Okay,
but then
fine.
that wouldn't have fucked you over. So
no, that's fair enough. That is fair enough.
Hashtag not sorry.
No, I know. I can tell.
For the good of the pod. Okay, sorry. What do you want to pick now?
Colin McRae Rally, please.
Ah, nice.
I don't recall playing the version on PSP, but that first one on PS1, like it was my sister that had the PlayStation 1 in our house. But Colin McRae Rally, I'm reasonably sure was my disc. I think I got it. Same as Metal Gear Solid was like that was my copy. That wasn't her copy.
Yeah.
And I mean, as anybody that listened to our talking about Dirt Rally and all that kind of stuff, different times, will know the great affection I have for those old Colin McRae games. So yeah, like if there's a decent chance that it's anything like they used to be, I'm more than happy to give it a shot. And if it's not, it's still a Colin McRae Rally game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be me suited to a T.
Again, on Reddit about 3 weeks ago, I put this out as a question to say, out of all these launch games, which would be the game that you would pick? And we had about 10 responses, so it wasn't a massive thing, but the one that got upvoted the most from the very first comment was Colin McRae Rally. So it's interesting to see that people, resonated with that. And to think about the PS2 game that probably would have been the most recent one to that was a 2004 version, I think, maybe. And I had that, and it was really good. Yeah. It was really good. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was of the same ilk. Cool. Okay, feels like a layup then, because I've already talked about it. I mean, I'm not going to talk about it anymore because you've still got to pick after this, but certainly, Wipeout Pure. I mean, it is joint up there as one of my favourite PSP games, like with Loco Roco and probably Half Minute Hero, like as in, 9 out of 10, nearly probably the perfect type of game for the PSP. I'd never really played much Wipeout before that, like as in I dabbled a bit with Fusion, and a little bit with 3, but I'd never really owned a Wipeout and loved a Wipeout like I owned and loved that Wipeout. And I also think it works really, really brilliantly on the handheld on the PSP. Like, for some reason, the air brakes feel better with just the single shoulder buttons on the PSP. Like, as it might be the only thing that does. Like, it's just like works so well. So while Pulse, I might have increased on that. I don't know necessarily. That is in Wipeout Pure for me. Like, as that launch game. But I don't regret having Ridge Racer on that first day. But, if I'd had Wipeout, that is I wonder what might have been different in my life. I wonder if it would have been, like a bit more, I don't know, less chilled out and vibey and a bit more e-pilly at university. Is that the way you describe it?
E-pilly.
Don't know. Anyway,
electronic pill.
Yeah. Cool. Ridge Racer and Wipeout Pure are my races. Cool. Round us out.
I will probably, against my better judgment, take Toka Race Driver.
Oh, okay.
For kind of similar reasons, because back in the day on the PS1, we had, I can never remember if it was Toka 1 or 2. It was one of those words that when I was younger, I had a mild obsession with just saying. Yeah. And I think...
Capital letters. Toka.
And I quite... Like, when I'm saying it, it sounds weird, but I kind of instinctively want to say Toka 2, which makes me think that was the one that we had, because it just... Toka 2. It just rolls, But yeah, like that was another one that I played a lot of. But also like kind of with the rally as well. Like I have a lot of fond memories as a kid, like watching this stuff on TV on quite often sort of Saturday afternoon and stuff like that. And like I can barely remember anything about touring cars except Jason Plato. Like, and it's just because like what are the odds of, you know, this massively famous philosophical dude driving middle class saloons around Thruxton or whatever, Brands Hatch. So yeah,
Plato's just crashed. Oh no! Since civilization as we know it,
not Socrates.
Philosophy's fucked.
So yeah, like it's just one of those ones that I look back on very, very fondly. I am kind of assuming this is more like the kind of PS2 era flavour of Tokka.
I'd never played. I just remember played a PS1 game.
I'd kind of fallen off it by that point, so I don't know how. Like this game may well be awful, but you know, just seeing it written down and the memories that came flooding back, it was like, you know what, it's got to be that.
I don't think there's any problem with that. Like the last time we touched Tokka on the podcast was on the PS1 demo disc. That's right, Tokka 2 was on those PS1 demo disc episode that we did, and I remember playing some Tokka on that, and I was like, good lord,
my eyes.
Plato, what are you doing to me? Was there any other racing games that stood out to you that might have gone onto your list at all? That is in, you know, you don't have to go into detail about them or anything, but was there anything else out there? I'm trying to think. So,
I mean, F1 Grand Prix could have had a look in, because I did have an F1 game on the N64 that I really enjoyed, but I've not really had any connection with F1 since. Not even fond memories. Like if it was on telly on a Saturday, it was something you endured.
We've talked about that already.
Need for Speed Underground again. Like I liked Underground 2, but
be interested to see what that was like. The Rivals one. I imagined it. I think I read that it was a little bit pared back. Like it wasn't quite. Didn't go to the nth degree that the home consoles one did. And therefore I'm starting to drift into a little bit of worry about Pimp My Ride, for example. So we had the other week. I had Midnight Club 3 just as a maybe one that, you know, just because it was more like, if in doubt, trust Rockstar.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the PS3 version kicking around in here somewhere that I keep meaning to sort of wade in on a little bit more, because it's one of those ones that for some reason I think I've owned it about 3 or 4 times over the years, but never played it for more than a handful of hours.
Version or whatever it is. I did read that this that the PSP struggled because it has the open world factor about it. So it was like, the PSP bold. So it retained too much of its home consoleness, and therefore the PSP was like, nope.
I don't think we're quite ready
thank
for that
you. And, you know, and you can maybe imagine 2009 PSP, that, you know, in people kind of designing a game in a certain way where they kind of go, oh, we know what this does now, so we can, but just to kind of be really brazen in 2005 and be like, no, we're going to launch with this, and it's just like, it just doesn't work. You're like, oh, okay. You can definitely see a review drop off from home console to PSP.
Oh, I bet.
Cool. Okay. So sports then. So let's flip the drafting.
Right. Okay.
Then. So you can go first then to sports games on the PSP launch titles. European launch lineup.
You know what? Against my better judgment, once again, I am gonna go with World Snooker Challenge.
You. God. Why are we over in the right? Okay, in Rich's dreamland here, it's 1997. He's sat in a corner of a working man's club talking about Tokka touring and playing snooker with a pint of mild.
You know what? Like, you know, the main
quite happy
reason
about
for
that,
it, I am, and you know why? Like, it's the dumbest fucking reason. It like really is. It's the only one out of those sports games on this list that I can remember the cover for, because it was everywhere. Because so many people got rid of it. And like the rest of them, I could hazard a guess what NBA Street and NFL Street 2 look like, because I think those were the ones with the quite cartoony covers and the bold, bright blues and stuff like that on the background. But yeah, apart from that, yeah. So I think World Snooker Challenge gets a shout.
It's a very very British game, I would say. I mean, I know other people around the world play snooker, but would that have launched in America or Japan? Maybe Japan. I can't.
Don't know.
Yeah, I mean, America's more pool, maybe. I don't know, but it just I
wonder if they reskinned it.
Yeah,
maybe that kind of thing.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going to pick up NFL Street 2 because this is a game that I had, and then before I played NFL Street 3 for the podcast. I'm going to say a couple of years ago now. Jesus, we say a lot like that. But yeah,
I've literally had jobs that I've had shorter time. By the way,
I've had prison sentences. I'm sorry about that. We're tied together now. So I just kind of thought that it was like the perfect bite-size sort of sports video game to fit onto the PSP. They just made it nugget-sized games, and yeah, it wasn't the best, but there was loads of fun little game modes with it. I remember there being lots of variety to it, and yeah, that used to be my chill out game, like NFL Street 2. So I think I picked it up a couple of months after, and yeah, it was very easy to sort of go and work a shift back at McDonald's or whatever, work till like 11 p.m. or whatever, and then stay up till 1 a.m. just relaxing after serving hundreds of horrible customers, but playing NFL Street 2 in bed, like not disturbing anybody, low volume, just playing those little mini games and repetitive, lovely colours, vibrant sort of fun sport. And that was at the time as well where I just kind of started to pick up NFL as well. Sort of like I started sort of 2004, 2005, sort of watching NFL, and this was probably my first proper NFL game that, apart from obviously a couple of Maddens and stuff, but this is one I kind of sank a lot of time into, and almost the three players that are on each team, I was like, I know them really well now when I see them on TV. So yeah, that's mine.
In that case, I am going to go with NBA Street 2.
Good.
So yeah, I back when quite liked a bit of basketball.
Okay.
So I mean, NBA courtside. This would have been 2002, I think. I was obsessed with it for a little while there. By this point, I was probably starting to ease up on it a little bit and fall out of love with it for no particular reason, really.
Yeah.
But hadn't quite got to the point at university where I was a flabby kid trying to try out for the basketball team, thinking that it was just going to be a nice, light-hearted knock around.
Absolute doddle.
And it absolutely was not. So yeah, it was. I think NBA would get a bit of a look in there.
Yeah. I hate that feeling when you go to university. You were like, oh yeah, I'll try out for the sport.
I thought this was social.
Sports teams. Oh God, Lord.
No one warns you.
No one warns you. No.
Warns you.
Even in Freshers Week, everyone's like, oh yeah, go and see this or go and see that and stuff. And then I look around and there's like people that are like 6'8" are just fucking absolute specimens of a human. And you're like,
I distinctly recall the Freshers Fair as well, where the American football team were like, oh hey, you should come down and try it out. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, I'm okay. I value my life.
If I knew what I know now.
Basketball game's a funny one for me because I like basketball. I don't mind watching basketball, and I like the idea of it, but I've never really played that many of them. Like I played, NBA Jam on like an arcade cabinet and stuff, and that's about it. Probably really only played them on the Mega Drive, to be honest. I've never really kind of carried it through. I have recently played. I got the NBA/WWE Playgrounds game that and like the sort of cartoony head ones.
Yeah,
I think it was on offer like £10, so like for both of them. And spoiler, I won't be reviewing for the podcast, but like as in the basketball one's pretty fun. It's quite good actually. Yeah, it's really easy and breezy to play, sort of 10 minutes here and there, so that's cool. The WWE one's shit. Okay, that leaves me with a bit of a conundrum on the other end of things, because there's two games that I'm like, I'm going to go with Everybody's Golf.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been Virtua Tennis World Tour, but I think that I've played both. I've played Everybody's Golf for the podcast. Virtua Tennis World Tour I played on the Vita and I had a brilliant time. I think Everybody's Golf, it's the fact that even though it's that kind of like saccharine, like straight to the nerves inside your teeth, sugary goodness of how good it looks and feels, and it's just like, oh hi, welcome to our golf course. Come on in. Everyone has a good time here. Do you know, we'll hold hands and go to the moon together. I don't know, like some shit like that.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been happy before. That's what I imagine it is.
I don't think I understand golf.
And yet you have that, and you have a simple mechanic of the 3.3 touch system to hit your golf ball, and yet it's still so complex. Like, it's still really, really good. Still one of the best golf games out there, certainly from a handheld point of view. And I didn't really sort of split too much between Everybody's Golf and 2, but I've picked it back up on the PS4 through PS Plus and stuff. There's another version coming out like in the next couple of months for the Switch that I'm like, I probably will get that because I just like Everybody's Golf now, and that was all because of the PSP version that I played on this podcast. So, it's definitely worth picking up, and I think the Switch. I know the Switch version will now become the version that you can play on handheld, but you can kind of go back and play the Vita one or like the PSP one now and still be like, This is fine. This is fun, happy golf in my hands. Like, so yeah, there's a game that I think that you can say 20 years later, still playable and still fun.
Nice.
And then the other one was Virtua Tennis World Tour that I kind of like say I really had a great time with Vita, and you've talked about how much you played that previously in terms of not the PSP version, but in general you enjoyed.
Yeah, like it
Virtua Tennis
always scratched an itch.
Is there any more sports games that you would have maybe squeezed in if you could have? If we didn't concentrate ourselves to 2.
To be honest, probably not. No, not really. Not from the list. Yeah. Tony Hawk's Underground 2, maybe, but
I put that in as a sports game. I think in my head, where I was like,
I get that. Yeah. I get that. That makes sense. But
just fit.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything really jumping out at me, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. That's all right then. Well, then doesn't matter that the rest of them are fucked up then. Okay, cool. Back to the draft. We're going to pick 4 games each out of, I think there's a remaining sort of 10, maybe. So it makes it quite difficult because we'll probably trade each other's toes here. If that's fun. Should we re-Rochambeau again to see who goes first on this one?
Yeah.
And then we'll get through these ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, go. Rock beats scissors. Do you know what? I need to think about actually play. I keep on just going straight to scissors. I think the last 5 times I've gone scissors.
You know what? I hadn't noticed.
No, well, I've only just thought.
You could have just sat on that.
I've only just thought about it. Like, as in, like, I think that I'm so busy looking at the phone, doing the podcast recording, my notes and stuff. I forget that I'm actually playing rock paper scissors.
You've got to get your head in the game.
No, clearly that must just be my go-to thing. So if anyone
if
who's
doubt,
podcasts, I will scissor you. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Cool.
Darkstalkers Chronicle.
You fucker.
Yeah.
That's come off my list, by the way. I've never played it. I want to play it, and now Rich has had it. And you said you've played it before.
I have, yeah. This and what was it? The version of Street Fighter Alpha 3.
Oh yeah.
Were kind of ones that I came to quite late. Actually, I played them more on my Vita than on a PSP or anything like that. But Street Fighter, obviously, anybody who's listened to the podcast for more than 10 minutes knows that I like Street Fighter.
And even if you haven't, if you listen for about 30 seconds, you've probably already come in there.
Quite like Street Fighter. So, yeah, like the PSP version is not the best way of playing it, but was fun, had some extra characters, which they've only just recently put on a home port and all that kind of stuff. Darkstalkers was one that had passed me by originally and was only much more recently one that I picked up on Vita and PlayStation TV, all that kind of stuff, largely because I had only just relatively recently started playing Darkstalkers, and I'm like, holy hell, this is like, when we were reviewing Skullgirls and stuff recently,
yes, yeah,
that's all fine and dandy, but then you go play Darkstalkers, you're like, oh no, this is much more like my speed personally. Like it's definitely what if Street Fighter, but kind of spooky. And it's got a lot of fun nuts mechanics in it.
I got a note that says difficult controls.
Yeah, it's the PSP is not great for playing these things, but in the year 2025, I guess you can kind of work out ways to get around that if you really, really want to.
Yeah.
But I just like Darkstalkers as a series, and I would very much like for it to make a triumphant comeback at some point. Gotta fly the flag for it.
I had it down as like my third game to take in this. Again, that wasn't to screw with you. That I already have once. It was more that I genuinely do. I'm very interested in playing it at some point, and I might well do for the podcast. But the fact that it was a port of a Japan-only Dreamcast game apparently, and the fact that makes it, and we're going to release it. Yeah, and to think that we're going to release that in America and Europe and Asia and Africa, they're backing themselves for like, oh, this is a good fun game, go for it.
Yeah, and it does something a little bit different to basically everything else that's on this list.
Yeah, cool. So not my top ranked game on the PSP, but I've already spoke about it today. Archie McLean's Mercury. Nice. I would still be, probably still playing it right now. 20 years ago, it was just, it was tough. But there's no flab on it. It's just really full of personality, which is weird for a game that looks a bit like Robot Wars in its sort of I guess its trimmings and its menus, and all you're doing is effectively pushing around blobs of mercury, liquid metal around these weird sort of state. It looks a bit like Red Dwarf, it's almost but it has the right, I don't know, just the thing that makes a PSP sing to me, just a really good puzzle game that works really well, and they just balanced everything. Funnily enough, because it's all about balancing, but balanced everything perfectly in that game to make it tough enough, but also after a little while you'll find that way to grab that last second win, and you just fire that mercury through the checkered flag or whatever, and you're like, fuck, that was so difficult. And it is weird because they don't really have any personality, these little blobs, but I feel like they kind of almost do, they become your friend almost in a way that you're trying to assist on their journey. It's just so stupid when you see them just kind of and a little bit of it splits off. You're like, oh no, I've lost it. But then it becomes apparent on some of the levels that you have to split it off and you have to lose some of it, and it's so. You have 100% of mercury obviously at the start, and then you need 75% to succeed, but you cannot succeed without losing a little bit of it. And it's almost that's very clever as a game mechanic because I have to lose some of it, but not too much.
Yeah.
All those little things about it. Just it made me detest the laws of gravity and love the metal mercury.
Right. Metal Gear Acid.
After all I've said about it.
Yep. I had this back in the day. And switching over to the Vita and PlayStation TV and blah, 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 I've been able to replicate the overwhelming majority of my collection. The one game that I've not been able to get hold of that I would consider getting a PSP for again is Metal Gear Acid. And I know you weren't a fan, but it's the only game from back in the day where I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I would give that another crack.
Yeah.
I figured it deserves a spot on the list.
You do that. You have a go. No, so everything I've heard about this from recent things is exactly the same feeling that you're having right now, and that I had. That was a curiosity, wasn't it?
Yeah, the kind of nostalgic curiosity.
I used to have that, and my save file's got about 10 hours on it, and I remember getting quite far in it, and oh wait, it's fucking shit. But you have to find out a second time. I'm not going to stop you doing that. But I will stop you from buying a PSP in it. I'll just give you mine. Like, so
but that's the thing. Like because I know it is the only one. So yeah, I'm not so desperate. Like I would have done it if I was that desperate. I've had ample opportunity. But yeah, it's kind of got a special place for me in that. In the fact that it does feel like it's the only one that's sort of lost, and I know it's not technically.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's an oddity in a good way and a bad way. Like I will probably want to. I know we've just done Metal Gear Solid, and we've gone to a third time of doing some more Metal Gear Solid. If we're going to do it, but I do want to play Acid 2 to see, because I've never played that, and I've heard that is better than Acid 1 in its gameplay. Maybe not necessarily its story, but its gameplay, and that's where I felt Acid 1 felt down the most. It was almost like he didn't know what he wanted it to be. But yeah, I want you to go back and play Acid and see if you find it better than me.
It's exactly the kind of game that if Konami decided, big if, to just dress it up a little bit, try it out on Switch or whatever for somewhere between, like, I don't know, £5-10 or whatever, I would be there a day dot.
Imagine if they did up. Portable Ops, Acid 1 and Acid 2 as the next Master Collection.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, something like that.
And everybody went, huh? But the thing, that's the kind of thing that Konami would do.
Peace Walker in there, and it would probably sell, right?
As a four, that'd be a great value.
Yeah. Let's be having you, Konami.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. That I'm super pleased, because then I get Mercury and I get Leaf Razor. Lumines. Just one of the most refreshing puzzle games ever for me. You weren't a massive fan of the remake version?
No, the one on Switch.
Yeah.
I've
which I was like, that's the definitive version, but
I've got it. I played it for maybe, I don't know, half an hour or something like that, and it was just like, it's not grabbing me.
I know some people that listen to this podcast. Shout out to you guys, Retro Game Den and Gary Gill Gaming, and I've spoke about it a few times before. And we had a competition about Lumines, and we really enjoyed that. And it's an aggressive competitive game. And a shout out to High Score High Stakes podcast as well. They do competitions on PlayStation games, and they've just done a competition on Lumines. I'll say it properly. And that's a really good podcast to listen to and sort of see how that drives people to be like, just one more minute, one more block. 7 hours later, you're still playing it, and you're like, I've been through like 12, cycles of PSP battery, and I'm still playing this one game that has this one mechanic where you're just putting these 4 blocks down in a different way, and it's just like, and then all of a sudden you get a banging like hit in the background, amazing songs, and like dancing like dogs and stuff, like when you do this, brilliant block sort of like special. It's a really wonderful game, and it's just super hard to master, but it's always riveting as well to me. So yeah, that's going in there. Nice.
This is my third one, isn't it?
It is indeed.
Spider-Man 2.
Okay. Never played it. I think the movie came with the value pack as like a sweetener, almost
Quite
like on the
possibly.
UMD. It was like, not inside the actual pack itself, but you got that on the day if you picked it up.
Yeah, because I'm reasonably sure that, was it Amazing Spider-Man it would have been, with came out with the Vita?
Yeah, that
I'm reasonably
been,
sure
that
had a download code for that.
Yeah, that would have been the right time. Yeah, so Sony and Spider-Man are just
in
lockstep.
There they are. But like Spider-Man 2 on, what was it? I think I had it on GameCube back in the day. I think I've got it on PS2 nowadays. I've got it floating around somewhere. It was another one of those ones that I was obsessed with for a little while there. Hadn't watched the film, or anything like that. I can't even remember why I started playing the game. I think I might have rented it and really enjoyed it, and then ending up getting it for like a Christmas or a birthday or something, maybe. Either that, or it was just going dirt cheap at one point. But I really enjoyed it. So if there is a chance that the PSP version would be like that, then it is a chance I'm willing to take.
Yes. No, fair enough. I mean, like I said, I've never played it on the PSP or handheld or anything, but yeah. I mean, can you go wrong with a Spider-Man game necessarily? Like,
Yeah, I think you probably could.
Once
Upon a time.
Yeah, there's so many of them, and they seem all. For some reason, they all hold, apart from the PSP ones, they all hold their value. Like, as in everything's like, if you want to buy a Spider-Man game now, like everything's like in the teens of pounds. Like, as in PS3 games, there's quite a few. Like Shattered Memories or something like that, I think it is. That's worth a lot of money and stuff. So yeah, I think it would be interesting to see what Spider-Man 2 looks like on a PSP. How much web holds up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it. I'm kind of curious about it. I have curiosity about it as much as anything else.
Yeah.
Kind of, especially after you mentioned about, what was it, Midnight Club 3 and the open world thing, and like the open world on Spider-Man 2 on the home consoles was like a revelation at the time. In fact, was it? Might have been one of, if not the first sort of open world kind of games that I played. I mean, a friend of mine had Grand Theft Auto 3 and definitely should not have, because he was far too young. But for ones in my collection that I could play whenever, I think Spider-Man 2 might be the sort of first big open world game that I had.
Yeah.
So yeah, if the PSP version holds up or not against that, I'd be very interested in finding out.
Fair enough. I'm going to pick the game that you've never heard of. Fired Up.
Oh yeah.
So this is.
Genuinely thought you were going to go with Untold Legends because I couldn't get the title right when I was reading it out.
No, I won't do that to you. Fired Up. It's a vehicular. I can't say that. Vehicular.
Hang on, before you go any further, I always had it pegged as being kind of like Vigilante 8.
Yeah, I've never played Vigilante 8, so I'm going to say yes, but I imagine so.
Right.
A bit twisted metal-y kind of in a way. Right, So it is. It's vehicle combat that is in. So, and it was only released in Europe.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. So it's a PAL game. So nobody else in the rest of the world were like, "What is this game?" Like, so literally, this is like one of the ones that tweaked my interest to be like, well, if we're gonna have something, talking about it being today, it's a very specific thing. I don't know much about it. I just read a quick review before the podcast, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I was looking into all the games, and apparently it's really high adrenaline and very exciting, but very short as well. So, but that's not necessarily a bad thing for the PSP. Like, I
nearly made a very crude joke then. I just want you to know that.
17-year-old me like that. Yeah, okay. So that's about it, really. That's all I had to say about it. But I think it was just a Twisted Metal light, maybe a Vigilante 8 light, but there's no problem with that for me on a PSP.
Nice.
I didn't know whether to put that in racing or not, but it didn't sound like it had any racing whatsoever.
It sounds more like it's about things blowing up.
Yeah,
I think that counts as not racing.
Yeah.
This is my last one, isn't it?
One more.
Dynasty Warriors.
Okay. I want you to know that this didn't have great reviews. Out of all of them, this seems to be the one that struggled, and I don't know if you'll know why that might be or not from your knowledge of it.
I would happily hazard a guess.
Okay.
So
please do.
I'm a little bit partial to Dynasty Warriors games. On the quiet,
on the quiet.
I've never played
the podcast.
I've never played any of them like for hours upon hours of end, but on end, brother. But they are ones that, like, back in the day, there were a couple of us that if we were around each other's houses, like that, Dynasty Warriors was probably going to happen at some point.
Oh, right, okay.
For just, like, mindless co-op stuff. So, like, if you want to plow through a battlefield and, like, slaughter hundreds of enemies, but kind of not really feel like you're doing much, it was a great option. So, like, we would end up having these sort of, like, they were almost the kind of, like, palate cleanser game, and all this kind of stuff. So if you're having, like, kind of, I don't know, sweaty sessions on Tekken and Grand Theft Auto and all that kind of stuff, Dynasty Warriors, you'd pop it in, you'd be on the same side, so you're kind of not having to worry about your quote-unquote opponent / friend too much, but you also didn't have to worry about the difficulty too much or anything like that. And then it was just a case of, like, building up your loot and stuff like that, really. And so yeah, I've got a bit of a soft spot for them. And when they were at their best, they would be throwing dozens upon dozens and dozens of enemies at you, and you would just be blowing through them. If I had to hazard a guess, I could imagine that combined with big battlefields meaning for kind of a short draw distance.
Yeah.
I could imagine that a PSP version might make it feel more like you're taking on like 10 people rather than like hundreds and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I can imagine that there could potentially be a lot of technical pitfalls there for them. And I can also imagine that the series, when it's at its worst, could look pretty muddy and murky.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. And, you know, the kind of thing where they try and hide a lot of the pop-in with fog and
the
all
PSP
that kind of
is
stuff.
not the place to hide that.
Yeah, so I can imagine that, you know, it could be like, I don't know, Silent Hill at worst, or somewhere between Silent Hill and some kind of eye test.
Yeah.
And probably get a bit creaky on PSP.
Funnily enough, the Silent Hill games on PSP are not well rated either.
Yeah.
Although they cost a lot of money.
I could also imagine that actually, if you've only got limited buttons and controller space, controlling a camera in a pretty fast-paced action game might not be the easiest thing in the world as well. But that said, you know, as a series,
gotta give it a go.
Yeah, and the more I sit here talking about it, the more I'm like, do I actually have any in my collection at the moment? I don't think I do. I should definitely fix that.
It's weird. It does feel like I'm on the. I've played like maybe a couple of hours of a Dynasty Warriors game at some point and quite enjoyed it, but also it felt like it wasn't. It did feel a bit mindless, and
it's video gaming junk food.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you put that so well there. It just felt like, it's just I was snacking on something, and I was like, this is fine. Do you know what I mean? It'll keep me going for a little bit, but I was like, I wasn't enamored with it at all. So, cool, fair enough. Okay, so my last one then is Medieval Resurrection. So I give this game 6 out of 10, and I feel like Medieval's during that episode last year. Didn't give it a bit of a bashing necessarily as a series, but almost that I felt like I feel like playing Medieval nowadays, the only way that you can probably enjoy it as much is playing the PS4 version. It annoys me that this was a remake or reimagining of the first game, and there's a PS4 reimagining of the first game, and I'm like, just can we not make a Medieval 3 already, guys? Do you know what I mean? Like,
no.
And all I'm hearing is, can we get a remake of Medieval 2? I'm like, what? What? Just, like, no. And also, I'm on the wrong side of history where everyone's like, oh, it's so, the story's wonderful and everything like that, and it's kooky and stuff. And I think the story beats are the worst part of the game. And actually, whilst it's a little bit clunky, the mechanics and the gameplay and the setting is genius, and brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Like, and actually, it was the PSP, specifically the PSP version, a lot like the Parappa the Rapper situation I go on about all the time. Like, is in the specific PSP story beats and stuff. You had like a little guy in your head who inside your skull, it was like a little genie, and he was a dick, and basically just like really annoying. Like, it was just added into the PSP game, and it was like it was terrible. And it just all that said. Medieval on your PSP, I imagine at launch, that is in. So this probably would have been something that if I hadn't picked up, say, Ridge Racer or Mercury, that I might have picked up this next. Because I knew about it, and I'd played it on the PS1 a little bit and stuff. Not lots. Like, I barely played it, as I said on the podcast. Just a strange duck for me. Something draws me to it, and I find it really evocative and very unique as a Sony series and a very British take on things, and I want to play it more almost. I kind of want to come round on it at some point. I just don't know if I ever will.
I'll tell you what's just occurred to me as well. You mentioning all that and looking at my list as well. Like, I guess, I don't know about you, but at the time I was considerably less wrapped up in reviews and stuff like that and what was going on. Like, I was buying N64 magazine and NGC or whatever it was, so that would be the way that I was getting most of it. I don't think I was necessarily living on the internet to look at reviews and stuff like that at this point. So looking at this lineup list, and especially the one that I've got here, so much of it is trading on that kind of nostalgia for, I played that on PS1. I've heard about that. Like, and familiarity in the franchises. So I do wonder if that was possibly a driver for a lot of the stuff in the launch lineup, was okay, there's not really going big on new intellectual properties or new ideas here. Well, apart from maybe Archie McLean's Mercury.
Well, that's and
the rest of it is we'll put spin-offs and ports of other
that's
things.
almost the flip of it is that I'd never seen or played anything like Mercury before.
Yeah,
yet
it's the one that sticks with you.
Yeah, it's not like a revolutionary game necessarily, but like and it's not like people are going down the street going, Archie McLean's, The Last of Us and Archie McLean's Mercury, the best games ever, hand in hand. Like it's in,
But if you're talking like quintessential games for the platform, the games that come to mind first when people say PSP, I get the impression that for you, Mercury is probably up there.
Yeah. I want it noted that in Retro Gamers' 20th anniversary PSP thing they did back in March when it kind of sat with...
Yeah.
Was it? I think it was March when it sat with the American release. They did an in-depth on Mercury. Out of all the games they could have done, that was the one they picked out. That is the launch title game that they talked about a little bit more. That might have been to do with who they could have interviews with and things like that, but still, it was still there in print.
It feels telling.
Yeah, it's just like something that sounds so obtuse as Archer McLean's Mercury as well. Like, as in that was again, it was like it's not Jimmy White's cue ball. Like, it's just like for me, not being as well. Certainly at the time, a little bit more so now, but not understanding gaming and not knowing who Archer McLean was, and that made me understand, this chap's got a back catalogue that's well respected and things, and go back to look at that. And
I should look at Archer McLean's other things.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that was a really clever thing to do. So just want to run through our list just to finish off then and say what we actually picked into our teams of 8.
So mine goes Colin McRae Rally, Toka Race Driver. Toka Race Driver?
One of the other. I'm going back to the pools again.
Yeah. World Snooker Challenge. NBA Street 2 Showdown, Darkstalkers Chronicle, The Chaos Tower, Metal Gear Acid, Spider-Man 2, and Dynasty Warriors.
That sounds like a very you list.
Doesn't it?
There's some basically rally driving, bit of fighting, bit of puzzly sport.
I am a basic bitch, aren't I?
No, not at all. No. No,
predictable.
I think that that's a nice thing that we could do that about each other. I mean, you, as I say, my list should be like, yeah. So mine is Ridge Racer, Wipeout Pure, NFL Street 2, Everybody's Golf, Archer McLean's Mercury, Lumines. I'd still say it wrong. Fired Up and Medieval Resurrection. So yeah, mine's probably a bit more like bouncy, cuddly. Fun.
Well, we haven't trod too many toes either, have we?
No, I know. Which again, I didn't expect that to happen. Well, I don't know.
I don't know. I do wonder, because we agree on a lot of stuff, right? And if anything, we could do with more jeopardy and more disagreement. But I do think, and this is why I kind of let you get away with suggesting these drafts, because whenever they happen, it does remind me that actually, I think our tastes fundamentally are actually quite different.
Yeah, I know. That's so weird, isn't it? Because I think there's always a crossover, and we'll go, oh yeah. And then,
when we're left to our own devices, right? No, fuck that.
Yeah, no, yeah. What do you want to play? Not that. Yeah, that's why we like our free play week so much. Because oh, thank God, I play what I want. And I bring the constraints and be like, no, we've got to do this. The people will love it. Just like this podcast, the people loved us giving us, a list of audio games in a list, especially when they were read so beautifully at the start.
Thank you.
I guess that rounds off our podcast today about the PSP European launch 20th anniversary. People might think I'm full of shit or like I'm just making it up for the podcast and stuff. I'm not. I genuinely have emotional feelings about, I led into today. I'd been doing some Instagram posts and stuff and sort of trying to, there's actual content creators who do amazing stuff and I'm just like, oh, look at me playing on PSP. Putting it in front of the screen and stuff. But just doing that really did build up something into today for me. And that's felt like a really nice conversation to have.
Good.
I've probably some adrenaline's gone, which in a good way. Having that conversation. So we're back to goodness. So
back to goodness.
Thank you all very much for listening.
Cheers.
We'll speak to you another 20 years. Oh no, wait, no.
Another 20 years.
With the Vita, 2032. We'll speak to you about that soon. Bye now.
Cheers.